We're gonna rock and roll. Thank you so much for attending A Personal Branding Your Story. I'm Dr. Kimberly Ellison, and I'm excited to be with you for the next 90 minutes. We're gonna take a journey, and we're gonna walk through your story. We're gonna walk through what it is your main characters do in your life, and how do you make sure that others know about your story. So I'm excited that you decided to join me on this journey, because you could have chosen or selected any other section that you wanted to on today. So before we get started with personal branding, what I would like for you to do is every woman to sit up straight, get some posture about yourself today, okay? Sit up really straight. All right. And I want you to breathe in deep and breathe out. Now this time I want you to do it a little bit more stronger. Ready? Now breathe out. So let me ask you a question. Did you breathing in take away any air in this room from any other woman? And so that's what it means when we talk about hashtag no mean girls. When we think about it, you can actually do similar things as another woman. You can own a business, you can work in corporate America, or you can have a ministry, or 501c3, or an organization. And someone can do something similar to you. And studies show that 63% of women are bullied in the workplace. Of the 63%, you have a 41% of those women who bully other women. And so when we talk about No Mean Girls, I'm excited to be a part of this platform. I'm excited to take this journey with you on helping you develop your personal brand. Because when you are able to identify your personal brand, you're not worried about looking at the other woman and seeing what she does better than you or different than you, or how unique this person is versus the things that you know about yourself. So today we're going to talk about personal branding your story. You are the author of your story. And we're going to take you through this journey, because if you do not personal brand, whether it be in your workplace, whether it be at home, whether it be in your business, if you do not personal brand, ladies, you can write your autobiography, or someone else will write your biography for you. So, I want you to take this journey with me, and I want you to begin to think about how are you going to set up the framework for your story. So we talked about who I am a little bit. You'll see some things in the back that I had an opportunity to think about. What does it look like for women to brand and rebrand? And so with that, I would go and I would sail across the nation and internationally and do Align. Align is a rebranding strategies for success. It's really identifying for women what it looks like to rebrand, what it looks like to brand. And so when you have an opportunity, you can do that as well. Again, I have a company, Dr. Kimberly Ellison Global, and with that we do transforming, engaging, and inspiring training and professional development. And so with Plaid for Women, this is an amazing platform, because we get an opportunity to go across and share here in DFW, but we will be nationally known, right? Everybody, we will be. And we'll get a chance to share this messaging with other women. All right, so you all are very unique here. But what I want to start off today is saying, you have a name tag. What if people addressed you, not by your name, but what if they addressed you by your strengths? What if they addressed you by those things that you do well? What are you known for? Because whether you believe it or not, people address you by your brand. See, when you're not in the room, they'll say, oh, is it Shireen? Shireen, oh, she's a team player. Oh, she'll take. So behind the story, the characters in the story will tell your story if you do not create your own brand. And so with that, what if people really called you by your strengths? The things that you're great at. But one thing about women, studies show that as women, we almost systematically discount ourselves, far greater numbers than men. So let me give you an example. If there is a job posting or a job requisition that you want to apply for, a woman will look at the responsibilities from that job posting, and she can have just about every identified responsibility, experience, and skill, 90% of it, and say, ooh, I don't know Microsoft Excel that well, so I'm not gonna apply. You see, that's what we talk about. We're saying building your personal brand in a way that you know your strengths. When you build your brand, you build from your strengths, but as women, oftentimes we operate from our place of opportunity. We don't operate from a strength. We don't operate from that place where we're the strongest, because our weaknesses are always here. And we know ourselves better than anyone else, so what we typically do is listen to the voice that says you can't. And so I want you to think about it. Everybody should have a name tag. If you don't, Dr. Marcia will give you one. And I want you to take a few minutes and think about your strengths. What is it that you want people to call you? What is it that you want to develop your brand, and you will know exactly what people know when they get you, they know what they're getting. See, that's what a brand is. People have to know that when you join their team or they're getting your product or your service, they know what they're getting. So whether you identify and develop your brand, or you allow someone else to create it, you have a brand. So take a few minutes, and I want you to think about your brand. What is it that you want to be known for? What is it that you want people to identify you with? What are your strengths? And I want you to write them on your name tag. No need to rush. We have a full 90 minutes, and I'm going to try to take off. This is good stuff. I see you still writing, daughter. I know that strength. All right. So take about 10 more seconds and we'll wrap it up. Now, one thing I want you to notice is when you walked in the room and you received your name tag, automatically your default setting told you to put your name on it, right? Because that's what we want people to know us by, is our name. And someone said that the sweetest sound is someone hearing their name. But I kind of beg to differ. Because the sweetest sound is when people pay you a compliment when you're not in the room. When they can say, I want you on my team, and you're not even there. When they can say things about your strengths. And then one thing that we have to do as women, we're at No Mean Girls, so I can really stay very focused and targeted on women. Someone will pay you a compliment and we'll say, oh no, this old thing. Or I got this for $5. Because we want to take away the value of what our strengths are and the things that we do. We don't want, somewhere along the lines in building our brand as women, we felt that if we know our strengths and we're able to identify those, share those, communicate those, that we would be seen as arrogant. We're not humble, there's no humility. We'll be overly confident about the work that we do. And so I want to see someone who's really brave, you know, who can tell me what they wrote down. Thank you.
Passion.
Passion. Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm very passionate about everything that I do. I work in Workforce Diversity, and I believe that creating an inclusive environment is the only really sustainable way that a company can have an engaged workforce. And so I'm very passionate about that. And it requires me to be very resilient.
Thank you for sharing. And it's so ironic that we have passion as the first thing here, because when you think about passion for women can come off as what? Like you're a little crazy, emotionally driven. You're too emotional behind it, or we're not as our business acumen is not there. We're too emotionally charged. And so if you know that your strength is passion, that is what you typically lead with. And when you're not in the room, people will typically say, but she's passionate. If you want someone on your team who's going to go all the way, you're going to get passion on your team. See, we don't want your name, because your name really means absolutely nothing when it comes to producing outcomes and getting results. But when you have built a brand in such a way that people know what they get when they get you, that's amazing. That's that superhero that Dr. Courtney was talking about. I would like to take someone else.
I am the generational guru, so when I get hired, that's what it's for, to help with the generational differences. So that is actually my website and my brand, and it came accidental because I was called that, and I'm like, wow, I like it. And so that's what I do. So I focus on the generations, helping them collaborate instead of collide. So that really felt right for me, because I'm in the HR space, people space. And so it also, sometimes it can hurt, because I speak on other topics and I'm still known as the generational guru. So at that time, that's still my brand though, and I still believe in it.
Thank you for sharing. She said something very key, because oftentimes we will be known as our brand, and sometimes people will not allow us to do anything else. So to tell you a little personal story, I started off my journey. I wanted my dream job. I tell about it in my book, Align. I wanted to be a trainer, and I thought that was a dream job. I was very young in my career, and I was like, I want to be a trainer. I'm going to be the best trainer. I want to teach people how to do their job and walk in their role. I want them to be able to move in their career, and I'm going to be a trainer. I stood up at one of the women's conferences at an automotive industry organization, and I stood up. You know how you get in a breakout session and they have you do all these things, and you say someone's going to report out. I was like, me, I'm going to report out. Because I wanted to share that I wanted to be a trainer for that organization. Because I knew I could touch everybody that come through that company. Anybody that would come through the company, I would be the face of the organization. I would be responsible for you doing your job and doing it great. And I applied for the position. I didn't get it the first time. I didn't get it the second time. I didn't get it the third time. Talk about resilience, right? So I went on, and the fourth time, I did get my dream job as a trainer. And I took that like, this is it. This is my career. I coined myself so well as a trainer. When I started to learn a little bit more about the field, and when I started to get my master's and really get into the field of training and development and human resource development and those things, I learned that, I want to be a strategist. I want to help organizations identify their gaps, and then I want to help close those gaps. And then I want to train the people on how to do it. But I had coined myself so as a trainer. They would fly me all over, internationally, the globe, to train and to do all these different types of trainings, right? So when I got ready to rebrand myself and move into another role, it was no. Kimberly is our trainer. No one believed that I could do anything else. So we have to be very careful how we write our story. We have to be very careful how we do not showcase other strengths, other competencies, other skills that we do have the ability to be very strong in. And we don't like to operate from a place of weakness, so oftentimes we stick with our strength. That's our level of comfort, right? We're very comfortable with our strength. So I was told, well, no, you become a trainer, you're good to go, but you're not very strategic. And I don't know about you, but when someone tells me I'm not something, the best thing for me to do is go become that, right? Anybody else feel that way? You're like, you can't. You're like, wait a minute. I have something on the inside of me. I'll tell you about what I can't do. So I did, and I started to rebrand myself, and it took me about 2 years. It takes time. So when you are developing your story and writing your story and developing your brand, hello, my name is creativity. Hello, my name is teamwork. My name is I'm strategic. You want to be able to tell your story and develop your brand that when people see you, they automatically start to think about what you're able and capable of doing in such a strong way that they want you. No joke, I had a president of Canada organization, same company, contacted our vice president of HR and said, we want Kimberly to come do our corporate mentoring program. Because when you coin yourself from your strengths and you build your brand identity based on what you're great at, people will begin to pull from you in that area. They want you. Really not you. What do they want? Your strength. So I want us to become comfortable as we take this journey, and how some people don't buy into personal branding, and so what they'll do is they'll say, oh, that's not really branding. I mean, people know what I do. One of the favorite things that people like to say is, I'll let my work speak for itself. Anybody ever said that before? I'll let my work speak for it. I'm not gonna try to go and network. I'm not gonna try to go and go after work and do these meetings. I'm going to just let my work speak for itself. I'm here every day, I work hard, I produce the results, and I'm gonna let my work speak for itself. If I can't get promoted on my work, then that job is not for me. Wrong answer. You see, it's not just about your work, it's about the competencies that you are showcasing in producing your work. No one knows what skills you're using to do that. So how better can it be for you to develop a personal brand around the skill, around the capability? And so we have to learn that that is the art and science of personal branding. It's not just a science where you go in and you get the results and you get the outcomes. It's an art and a science. So there's a delicate balance between the two. So what we'll do as we walk through this journey is we'll talk about what personal branding is. How do you build your personal brand? Because oftentimes people just build reputation. And there is a difference. Reputation supersedes you because reputation is pretty much what people think of you. Your brand is something you deliberately build. It's intentional. It's not something that you just let happen. You intentionally build your brand. We'll talk about understanding your brand identity. Do you know what brand identity look like? What does it look like for you? Make your brand more effective, branding challenges, and then we'll talk about rebranding. I think that's huge because oftentimes we have a brand and we want to do something different in our life and we don't really know how to transition. I get a lot of clients in my consulting company about transitioning from, I want to go from corporate America to entrepreneurship, or I want to get another client base, or I want to move from this target market to another target market. How do I do that? Well, you can't just jump from one market and take the same brand with you. So you have to be able to do brand development. Oftentimes people just want to do brand implementation. You have to do brand development, and that takes a little bit of time. So we'll talk about how do you rebrand, how do you reinvent your personal brand. So I'm going to rock and roll, and we will take questions throughout, so I want this to be more of a dialogue, but I wanted to get to the content. When you think of personal branding, ladies, companies, they brand all the time. Sometimes they brand and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. So when you think of branding, anytime I go in the grocery store, anytime, market, if I need washing detergent, I get Tide. I don't care if it's on sale. I don't care if it's out of stock and I get the small pods. I get Tide. I don't substitute. I don't say, well, let me get this other brand today. See, I don't even know what the other brands are. I don't say that. You know why? I don't use another brand because Tide gets the job done for me. I don't get the Clean Fresh. I don't get the Mountain Breeze. I don't get any of those things. I get the original Tide. That's what I get. You know why? because it does it for me. What do you get when you go to get your toothpaste?
Crest.
Ooh, Crest. So when you go and you get your Crest toothpaste, why do you get Crest?
Because that's what my dentist used when I was young.
See, that's what her dentist used when she was younger, and that's what she still does. Brand. Why do you use Crest? Anyone?
I grew up using it.
You grew up using it. Flavor? She likes the tingly feeling. When you think about the brands, when we go in, ladies, and we choose and we select certain things, subconsciously we choose it because of its end result. We choose it because it does what it says every single time. It produces what it says it's going to produce. Most of the time, think about your facial cleansers. You best not change that facial cleanser, especially if you have a big event the next day. Right? There's no trying new things when you know what works. That's just like your personal brand. People don't want to try new things when they know that you can get the job done. So in writing your story, ladies, you have to be able to know that your personal brand is what you bring to the table. It's what you bring to the table. And so I brought these here. I always use this illustration. Ladies, they say nobody can eat just one, right? That's kind of true. They say no one can eat just one. But then I have this brand here. It's the Snack Artist. What's the difference? Say it loud.
Off-brand.
Off-brand, what else? And what's this?
That one's known. I mean, it's
Known, well-known.
That's private label.
Private label.
No, that one.
We trust.
This one, private label, okay.
Trust the consistency. We don't know what that
You
is.
trust the consistency. What else? Tell me, what else?
You know what you're gonna get.
You
Every
know
single
when you-
bag is consistent.
Oh my gosh, ding, 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 ding. You know what you're gonna get every single time. In building your brand, you need to be consistent. You need to produce at a level of consistency where your lack of consistency does not tarnish or stain your brand. Have you ever tried to use someone's service and they said, oh, we do this in 24 hours, and then they get there, carpet cleaning, 3 rooms, and for 99 bucks. The messaging and the delivery does not match. And you get there and you're disappointed and you're like, you said 3 rooms for $99. They said, oh yeah, that's only if. So that's how we have to think of our brand. What you say you're going to do, you have to deliver on that. One of the things I share with everyone when I do this personal branding session, what's another obvious thing with these?
Size.
Size. And ladies, if you wonder why I'm standing over here, it's because of the lighting for the video. He was telling me that it was dark up there. So. All right. So when you think of it, obviously, the obvious thing is the size. So really, does it matter if you get quantity over quality? Tell me about it, Carrie.
Okay. Well, sometimes quantity over quality is what you need. Like if you're feeding kids at your house,
Okay.
you might go for cheaper.
Okay. So if you
But if you're
know
eating
that you
yourself.
have to spread the wealth a little bit more, you might use the off branches, make it stretch, right? But the one thing about the stretch is that the product still ends up being kind of thin, right? So when you think of your brand, we can't afford to do the off brand, because if you go in off your game, in the boardroom, you go in off your game in the meeting room, you go in off your game when you have a delivered presentation or you have to have a project and you're the lead and you can't be off. But one thing I want you to know, do not be deceived by quantity over quality. Because sometimes we'll have a great brand and it's delicious. And it's half. full or half empty? What's the difference? It's still half. Right, like it's still half, it doesn't matter. So what I'm telling you, even if you coined your brand in such a way that everyone knows your brand, this is consistency, they know what you're gonna get, you have to deliver. Because if I actually wanted you on my team, if I wanted to use your service, you're the generational guru. And if I come to you and I'm expecting you to take a look at my organization and see how we can identify these different generations and how we can address our likenesses and our differences, then you come in and you're like, well, I don't know. Your brand, ladies, when you think about it, it's self-packaging. It's how you deliver. It's what you deliver on. So no matter how you shake it up, it's still your self-packaging. Your brand, I don't have to tell it to this group. However, in some groups I do. Your brand even includes your attire. It includes your attire. People automatically, I think it's like 3 seconds. People size you up in 3 seconds. So your brand includes your overall self-packaging. So we're gonna take a really deep dive on this journey. How many times have you looked at a counterpart at work or in business? You have a meeting and you're like, oh, they didn't prepare for this? She just got out of the shower and shook her hair? Then how much quality do you think, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but if the book cover is not attractive and it's not quality, most often you go to the next book. Is that not true? So you think about that. If people are doing business with you, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing all these things, and I tell you, I see women, we're gonna talk about women today, okay? I see women all the time. I'm a consultant, I'm a coach, I'm this, and I'm offer this service. I set up a consult with you. We get this. So when you build your brand, build in some consistency. Build in those quality barriers. Build in a way that you know your strengths. And I always tell people, who are my business owners in the room? All right, so pop quiz. If you have a weakness in your business and you're the weak link, what do you do?
Hire to your weakness.
Yes. Yeah. Hire to your weaknesses. That's in entrepreneurship and in corporate America. If you are a leader in an organization, any managers, leaders, supervisors, team leads in here, what do you do when you need something on your team? You have a specific target area and you're hiring and you don't know how to get it done. You're like, oh, I'm not dealing with this. What do?
I'm an expert.
You find someone in the company or external or internal who can fulfill that need. So what I'm sharing with you, ladies, when you're building your personal brand, it's the same thing. Don't so much focus on your limitations, focus on your strengths, your ability and capability, and from there, identify your areas of opportunity, and you capitalize there from someone else's strength. Make sense to you? And so that's what we talk about when we're saying it's self-packaging. So too many of us we're trying to be our assistant, we're trying to answer our emails, we're trying to call back clients, then we're trying to, do our website, and then we're trying to do all these things. You need to hire someone to do that. Damaging your brand, or you have the probability of doing so if you continue at full steam. So, this is what I love. When you build your personal brand, oftentimes I went to an organization, I was invited, and what they told me is that this group has been in the company, in their same roles for like 20 years. We need some motivation. I'm like, wait a minute, so you're gonna sit me in a room with 200 women who've been in the same role for 20 years. Do you know that's kind of tough? So, they didn't need motivation, they needed to know their strengths. They needed to know that they were able to do other things than something that was just comfortable for them. So when you look at here on the screen, you'll see these Blockbuster. What y'all know about this VHS? Do y'all know how long it took me to get this? I keep this in my bag when I go to these. I'm like, I'm I'm not putting this away. I keep it. It's kind of dated. But do y'all remember the VHS? It's awesome. You could get home, pop it in, hit play. You gotta get up to rewind it, and all this. Right? So you do all these things. And the thing is, what Blockbuster did, they said, you know what? All right, what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that you have home entertainment, and when you get off work, you can come to Blockbuster, our retail store, and you can rent a home video. They even started having them for 99 cents. Y'all remember going and counting, like, okay, they put a limit on how many you can get, so you'd be like, okay, I want you know, and you have your little basket, and you're getting all your VHS tapes, and the kids can have something to watch, and you can have something to watch, and ooh, you're gonna do a whole Saturday watching movies. Yeah, people got tired of going to Blockbuster after work. They got tired of making the drive. They wanted to go home. They wanted to pick up their kids, pick up dinner, and go home. They didn't want to spend time looking down each row, seeing what the new release was for today, and picking out and looking at the same videos that they've been seeing forever. So Blockbuster built over 8,000 retail stores. You can barely find one today. So when you're building your personal brand, you're always forward thinking about what is it that you can further develop, because then along came Netflix, right? So you have this, you said, you know what? You don't need to go to Blockbuster. You can just go home, you can hit your little guide, and you can pick from your fingers which movie you want to watch. Order pizza, you don't have to leave. They were meeting the needs of their consumer. You have to meet the needs of your consumer. Who's your target market? Who's your customer? What's their demographic? What are their needs? How do you do it? Because Blockbuster did stay in business for a very long time. I mean, they were all over in different countries. They had over 60,000 employees. But what Blockbuster failed to do was rebrand based on their consumers' needs. So personal branding is just not about what you can offer, it's do your customer want what you're offering. So Netflix capitalized on Blockbuster's inability to actually predict, talk about, predictive analytics. Being able, for those of you who are business owners, what are the predictive analytics? Predictive measures in which you can take to be able to identify whether or not your consumer base is changing. What's changing in that market? What are they targeting now? Because that's what Blockbuster failed to do. And then, oh then, here come on demand. Nobody wants Netflix anymore. Who wants to wait till it gets in the mail? I just want to go home and be able to click what I want and watch it. I don't want to have to put up with DVDs. They were scratching and you got to clean them and they would stop, right? So now, on demand. Video on demand. You have to think about, in the branding of these three companies, it's exactly what your customer base is looking for. What are you doing in your role? This is the analogy I use for those women. And I get letters, emails, because nobody writes letters, emails saying, thank you for coming out. We're going to have a part 2 and a series of personal branding. We've seen some movement because when you see an analogy of what can take place if you do not develop your skill, if you do not change with your consumer, if you're not doing the research, if you're not forward thinking, you will see yourself slowly out of business. You will see yourself slowly passed over for promotion. You will see yourself feeling undervalued because no one wants you on their team. Well, because you can only do one thing. Anybody ever had a feedback discussion? You love them, right? Anybody working 9 to 5? Or a day job, anybody? Oh, we love feedback discussions, right? Yeah, sure, we all do. Well, have you ever sat across the desk and you're getting ready, or you get this email where they say, send a meeting invitation, we're gonna do a little coaching or a little, you're like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna talk about? Anytime someone brings up a feedback session, you get nervous. Why? I'm telling you, every single time. The reason why we get nervous, studies show, is no one wants to be called out on their inadequacies. And we've coined feedback in such a way, it's so negative. So we're like, no, what are they gonna say now? Well, when you sit across that table and you're able to identify your strengths, and you're able to have dialogue around what you're doing, and you're able to say, well, you know what? I went and I took this course and I received a certificate, or I received a certification. I'm working on that opportunity. See, we don't want to take the time to do that. Build your brand in such a way. When Dr. Courtney did that little poll, I'm like, oh, I gotta go look up that app. So you want to be able to identify ways that can advance your business and advance your career in such a way that you are competitive. Blockbuster cannot compete with On Demand. Who do you know is getting a job? Because oftentimes we'll say, well, they got it because they're popular. They got it because they're a favorite. Well, here's the deal. They probably got it because they look popular, because they go to different networking events, they talk more to the leader than you do, they share more about what they do, what projects they're working on. So it typically looks like they're smoozing, right? But they're crafty and they're very deliberate and targeted. We call them opportunists sometimes, right? But don't we all want an opportunity? So you have to be able to deliberately create your brand. So let's rock and roll. So how do we do it? I always like to say we want not just give you some theoretical concepts. I always want to walk away giving you some practical things you can apply to your day-to-day and kind of shifting your brand. So here are 3 ways in which you can do it. Your personality profiles. Ladies, if you do not know your personality style, your personality type, I'm sure we do. But if you haven't taken it in the last 18 to 24 months, probably do it again. I remember taking a personality profile, and I was going through a serious situation in my life, period of transition, and it was kind of more like a false positive, because I was answering the questions based on my condition and not based on who I actually am. So when you take it, you want to make sure that you're taking it with a clear head, clear mind, and you're focused not on your situation or the fact that you just got a denial letter or they told you they chose a better candidate. Don't you hate that? We went with a better candidate. No one's better than me. So you always want to make sure that you know your personality profile. And you want to align your personality profile with your career interests. All right, even for the entrepreneurs in the room. If you are an introvert and you own a public, you're saying, I'm gonna be a publicist. Does that make sense to you?
It's hard.
Very difficult. Very difficult, because there's some alignment. It's something is off. Anybody ever had an alignment issue with their car? You're driving your car, you're rolling, nothing's wrong with the car, you're good, you're full of gas, it's going, you're looking good, it's clean. But somehow when you're driving straight, you have a tendency that it just moves on its own over here. And you figure out that something is wrong because it's not going in the direction that you wanted it to. So when your career is not moving in the direction that you wanted it to, or when your business is not gaining the clients that you thought you had, you need to check and see, are you out of alignment? This is good stuff. You want to check your alignment. Situational self-awareness, young ladies, this is huge. As we go, write your notes down, because we'll go back to these slides. We'll have plenty of time to kind of do a dialogue around this if you have questions. When I tell you situational self-awareness, that's big. I work with leaders. And when I tell you, the conversation I have with them about their staff or their employees, the most common thing is that not that they lack the ability to do their job, it's that they suffer in situational awareness and self-awareness. They don't know their limitations. You have employees who are high performers, who are in meetings, asking questions. I'll tell you a personal point, seriously. We were at a town hall, one of the companies I used to work for, we were at a town hall meeting. Town halls, for those of you who don't know, is when all the executives from all over the company come and you get to sit in a room like this and you get to ask all the questions about where the company's going, what's the strategic plan, what does it look like for my department, and you get to kind of show off a little bit, right? No joke, I was sitting in the audience just like you. One of my coworkers raised his hand. They gave him the mic. Big mistake. He said, most of the time, now this is a man, he says, most of the time, what are y'all gonna do about the tissue paper in the bathroom, because the toilet paper, because most of the time when I go in there, it's out. I can't talk about like I'm reliving this moment. So here, everyone else in the room was like we were embarrassed for you. But do you know it may not be that drastic? However, there are people who will get in the room. Have you ever went like, oh my gosh, this is not the right time? Like, please don't ask that. It's almost like the company's about to downsize and someone says, hey, when are we getting raises?
Yeah.
Seriously, so that's being self-aware and situational aware. When you walk into a situation and you know whether or not you should, the same way you talk to a CEO is not the same way you talk to your friend at work. Let's go eat. Now, in some cases, if you have that relationship, absolutely. But in most cases, if you don't have that dialogue. So we have, but sometimes people will say, well, they're just people just like me. I'm going to be myself. And you can. I'm not saying not to be authentic. What I'm saying is be aware. It's your brand. So that's your personal. Make sure there's some alignment there. When you think about your attitude, your altitude, and your aspirations, I say this is like AAA, and I'm not talking about the AAA that come pick you up on the side of the road. This is the AAA that will take you to another level. This is the AAA that will take you from entry to exit, that will take you from ground level of being an entrepreneur to a soaring entrepreneur. Your attitude will reflect all the things about how you feel about your job or how you feel about your business. If you are having customers and they're calling you and they're setting up things and you're like, oh, I wish these customers would stop. Somewhere in the line that doesn't work. You need a break. When you think about altitude, where are you going? I always say directionally, your personal brand should reflect your altitude. If you feel yourself, a lot of people take this course, when they come in, they take this course, they're on autopilot and they're trying to figure out what is it and how is it and what can I do so that I can get out of this piece, I'm in transition, I don't know what to do. So when you think about your altitude, your brand should reflect where you want to go. And then it's that simple. And when you think about your aspirations, sometimes we're not allowed as women, I really want to share with you, sometimes we split aspirations because we have a husband and we have kids or we're taking care of our parents or doing something like that. And so what we do is our aspirations now just become
Get the laundry done.
get the laundry done. So you want to think about, do your aspirations still align with where you're trying to go? This is huge. I'm telling you, this is something that will shift your business. It will shift your career. If you are in a place right now where you're like, well, I kind of know my brand and I got something for you. But when you think about it, you have to know that this AAA mechanism, it's not going to have to pick you up on the side of the road. It'll take you where you're going. All right, so we talked about personal. Let's move to professional. This, I love it. Ladies, we have to close the 33% gap. Business, strategic, and financial acumen. I talk about this everywhere I go. Anytime I get an opportunity to talk with women, I talk about the 33rd. You know why? Because the 33rd keeps women. That number today, about 11% CEOs in healthcare, that's because of the 33rd. That's because women lack In business, financial, and strategic acumen. We do a great job. We have to shift our hats and move our crowns, and we have to become mom and take up the kids and go to soccer, that we forget that not only do we have to do a great job, but we have to learn the business. We have to learn the operations of the business. We have entrepreneurs. You raised your hand in this room. Oftentimes, women, we are lacking in our business acumen because we don't learn the operations of the business. We lack the beauty of the business. How beautiful it looks. How my logo looks. That is a part of your brand. But again, that's brand development, not implementation. Oftentimes, we will brand develop and we think, I got this. But think about it. So we have to strengthen our financial acumen, our business acumen. So your business acumen is knowing the operations of your business, knowing how your business makes money, knowing, again, what's your accounts payables, your accounts receivables, who's your market. You have to know the operations of your business. Who are your barriers? Who are your competitors? For those of you who are going to your 9 to 5 every day, you got to know how your company makes money. You have to know. And some of us are not interested. Just not. But in order for you to be viewed as viable for C-suite and to move beyond mid-level leadership, we have to know the business. You ever met a woman CEO or a woman vice president or senior executive, you're like, wow, she's smart. Because she knows the business. Your strategic acumen, strategy. How do you solve problems? How do you get things done? Not just a plan, but a plan of action. What is your strategic plan? Not your checklist, not action items. What's your strategy? Also, your business acumen, your financial acumen is huge. This is an area we lack in because we haven't had to. And if you're like me, where math is not my thing, I'm all the way right brain. I'm creative, I can do all this fun stuff. These finances, I hire out. Because when you think about it, you have to know. But again, it goes back to knowing your personality style. It goes back to knowing your strengths. You have to know. But your financial acumen, if you're running a business and you don't know down to the bottom number what's coming in and what's going out, you'll find yourself in a world of trouble. So the 30-30 is what keeps women from being in that above the 11%.
Why do you call it 30-30?
Oh, because it's 10, 10 to 10, 30-30. They call it 70 whatever percent of the remaining are in. This keeps us, the 33% of the
Who's
business.
they?
Say it again?
Who's they?
It's just the research shows that women.
Research shows.
Yes. And you can actually take a look. We did a study as well. And so I will get you the information for the link and stuff like that as well. It's called the 33rd, and you can actually check it out. It's 33rd%. It's unique, right? You're like, what? I know this. So when you think about that, get aboard the MSC ship. Anybody know about this ship? This ship will sail. It's not Carnival. It's not, Royal Caribbean? This is the MSC ship. So when you think about the MSC ship, that's mentoring. You got your sponsor and your champion. How many of us have a mentor? How many of us have a champion? How many of us have a sponsor? So when you think about that, it gets less and less. When I look out here, everybody has a mentor because we like to have that engagement. We like to, kind of share with our mentors some of the challenges that we're having and all that. And then we get to the sponsorship. Your sponsor is the person who really goes in and they're like, I know more about you, I can share a little bit about you, but they have some influence, but they don't have major influence to get it done. Your champion, they're speaking for you whether you're not there, they're an influencer, they can get it done. They can walk in the room and because they have the power, because they have authoritative position, because they have influence. Have you ever gotten in a meeting or a business deal just because someone kind of mentioned it? They're like, well, I know, if Yolanda said it, you're good. That's a champion. Sponsor, let me give you an example. Someone will refer you. They have to go still get other referrals. I believe you. I think you're good, but let me ask a few more people. Got it? When you talk about a mentor, that's someone you're just going to for the engagement. They're going to kind of give you some directional things. You're going to dialogue. You're going to share your challenges. They're going to help you discover more about who you are, kind of do those things for you. It's more long-term. Sponsorship and champion is not mentoring. You don't have to, stay long periods of time. It's for a particular period of time, so to speak. All right? And then we're going to move more into, when you think about the transferable skill development. This is huge. We talked about those women who were 20 years in their job. Do you know how many transferable skills they picked up? Skills that you can take to other industries, skills that you can take to other markets that you didn't even know you could. So increase our transferable skill development and your network and move from relationship building to sustainment. I love this piece because when we talk about relationship building, we can do that, but we don't know how to sustain it. Because what we'll do is say, well, I don't really want to bother her. I don't want her to think I'm going to get something from her. You sustain the relationship by keeping in contact. We have so many mechanisms now. You have social media you can keep in contact. You have LinkedIn. There are so many ways you can keep in contact now without feeling awkward. But we never follow up. Sometimes people will say, email me, let me know what you need. And you're so nervous, you're like, I don't know what to say. You start the email, you erase it, start the email, you erase it, you finish it, put it in draft, you tell your friend to read it, then you tell your husband to read it, then you tell your cousin to read it, then you give it to the dog and you say, can you read it? And so when you think about our confidence in building our brand, we have to do that in building those relationships as well. Oftentimes we don't do that. We feel that the other person has a little bit more than we do. So we feel that we can't really compare to the knowledge or to their skill set or things of that nature. But you have something to offer. So think about that and continue to build those relationships. Your purpose, this is huge, knowing your why. It can't be just for money. It can't be just for the convenience. That's going to really wear out. I always tell people, what is your payoff? What's your payoff? Because there are some negotiables and non-negotiables. Anybody have any negotiables and non-negotiables? There are some things you're willing to put up with, but then there are some things you're not. Know your why. Discovering you. What are your values? We talked about your personality, your interests, your knowledge, your skills, and your ability. This is all purpose. So when you think about personal, professional, it all lands here. It all lands. So how do we make our brand more effective, ladies? Think about it. Self-check. Obtain your feedback and identify what's missing. This is huge. Self-check is you. When we talk about that personality profile, when we talked about identifying your strengths, when you talk about aligning your career, that's a self-check. Then you also think about, what do you want? What do you desire? We don't often think about that. We often think about, what do we need? I need a job closer to home. I need to make more money. I need more clients. We always think about the need versus what do you desire ultimately. When you talk about obtaining feedback, that's getting a temperature check from others that you work with, clients, co-workers. I always say the best people to get some feedback from outside of the self-check are those people who you really don't really like to do business with. Are those people you really don't want to have a meeting with. Because they have no investment in the process or you. So they don't have one way or the other to tell you anything different than the truth. They're going to tell you their perspective. They're going to tell you about your client. They're going to tell you about your service. They're going to tell you all these great things that you don't want to hear, right? And then you identify the gap. Is this true? Is it not true? All right, so that's what you do, number one. Then you develop towards your brand. Once you've done your self-check, once you've identified what's missing, you know what you desire, again, you start to develop toward the brand. This is huge. We don't spend enough time doing brand development. We just implement. The development phase is really fleshing out, what is it that you desire in your career and your business? And how do you plan to get there? Now, we all know that these are plans and things change because of life. We've heard two great speakers this morning who shared some of their journey with us. So we know that there is no perfect plan. However, you have to have a strategic plan of action. So when life happens and you get off course, you learn to reroute. All right, communicate your brand. We have a difficult time communicating our brand. We will talk up every woman in this room. She's a generational guru. And you're talking about, oh, she's great, she's fabulous, she's awesome. But we don't know how to communicate what we want. We don't know how to communicate our desires. We don't know how to communicate our messaging. So I want you to practice as we go throughout the rest of the day. When you have dialogue with women, if they pay you a compliment or they ask you what you do, try to practice really sharing what you do. You're gonna be uncomfortable. Because the best thing that our best way is just listen to what everybody else is doing. And then we go and tell everybody, oh, it was so many great women there. Anybody did that? You go home, it's like, oh my gosh, there were so many great women. Everybody was so amazing. Well, you were amazing too. And it should sound more like, I was so glad to be in women who were like-minded, women who were progressive like me. We laugh, but it's definitely something we have to practice. So communicate your brand, reintroduce yourself. I don't mean to pick on you, Miss Sherry. However, she talked about the rebranding piece. A lot of us need to probably work a little bit here in the rebranding. And I have a little snippet of that to talk about. This is hard. Reintroduce yourself, and then also remain consistent. Oh my goodness. Remain consistent. We are so tempted to go back to a default. Remain consistent, right? And then persistent as well. So we'll stop here because we do have some time. We're almost clear with the presentation. I like to get through and then ask questions because we have all the time and then we don't feel pressure to keep going. But I feel like we have some questions that we can kind of talk about a little bit and then we can get back to it. Is that okay with you? All right, any questions? No, not any questions. What questions do you have?
I have a question. You commented about the predictive ability in your business looking forward. Can you talk a little bit more about that in that, how would you go about that? Trying to, because sometimes we're so stuck in the day-to-day, whether it's our own business or as an employee. And so where would we start to be predictive?
Two things. One, if you are in a 9-to-5 or you're working in your career, you want to be able to look at the market that you're in, see what's changing in the business. And then you have dialogue with your leaders around, or your leader around, what are some of the things that are going on that's changing. For example, when I was in financial services, you all know about how I'm telling you, when it went on to decline, how would we know? Now, I would say we would do lease-in versus retail customers. So because of the climate change, I had to have dialogue with my leaders to really figure out what was the need. So I needed to learn how to do lease option versus retail option. Because now we can lease at shorter periods of time, but I didn't know how to do that particular system. All right, so you want to have dialogue. You want to make sure that you are, again, that business acumen. Make sure you go back to that piece and learning what the business is doing. And that's how you check the temperature. Also, when job postings come out, key indicator that things are shifting or we're feeling something that's a gap. Anybody ever hear how they created a position for someone? Anybody did? Why would they create a position? Because there's a need or something changed. So now that's an indicator to have dialogue, because we will sit back and just say, well, we didn't know that the position was even available. I have that skill. But when you have to create dialogue, especially when you're in an organization, because you won't know at certain levels what's going on in the business. All right, so the dialogue, And then also, what's going on around you? Who's being promoted? What department? At one point in time, healthcare. We're talking about, do you all remember when you used to go into a hospital, you have to wait for hours in the ER, right? Well, now you don't have to go to the ER. You can go to where? Care Now, Band-Aid. I mean, you can go to all these different places because the market started to change. So so you have to keep a temperature of what's going on in the business. For those who are entrepreneurs, you have to, I know people hate it, social media, double-edged sword, but it tells you about your customers. It tells you what they're buying tells you. Your competitors tell you. If for those of you who have products and services and you have an online store and you have one product that's sitting there and you've marketed and you've done all this, you might want to change your market or change that. That is no longer a need. People no longer want that. Listen to the business. It's going to tell you. But we're so passionate about what we do, we don't want to listen to what the customer or the business is telling us. What other questions do you have?
When you ask for client feedback, do you do that situationally on whether you make that an email or a sit-down meeting or a lunch, or how do you frame that up and ask that question without seeming like, give me your feedback without it sounding like build me up and make me feel good about myself and tell me how great I am, or
When you get a referral or when you get like a testimonial or something?
Yeah, when you're asking for feedback from a client,
Okay.
tell me what I'm doing wrong, tell me what I'm doing right. How are you framing that for why?
Build it
Trying to
in.
get honest feedback, yeah.
Build it in.
Okay.
Build it into your system.
Yeah.
Build it in.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about your strategy, when we're talking about the strategic acumen, strategically, you want feedback from your clients because that's going to help drive your business and check the temperature. Build it in your process. That when you finish, they get an email, please provide me with X, Y, and Z. And then what questions you want to target, you actually put those questions on this particular field. Like in this field, you would put, what type of feedback would you like? Did I meet your needs by providing you? Would you like to be, when they
This is
say,
what we kept about.
exactly.
Did that happen? Yeah.
Did I meet your needs? And it'll take it a little bit further. Do it in the pre and in the post. So build it into your pre-system, meaning when you get ready to do a consult or provide a service for them, build it in, have them fill out what would make this experience 100% great for them, and then you can target that strategically. So you never have to guess if you're meeting their need. And you can actually take it with you to the consult and sit down and say, you provided this, we've talked about this, did I meet your need? Build it in.
When you work with entrepreneurs, what's the number one thing that you see out there that is the biggest miss that they're just not, that they're not clued into, that you go to work with them on? Is there like one big thing consistently that they're not doing?
I think the biggest thing is they're not prepared. A lot of people wing it. They don't do the research. They don't do the due diligence of their customer. They'll come to a meeting, say if they have a business, they don't do enough research. They treat like doctors when you go to the doctor's office. If one person has diabetes, they treat everybody's diabetes the same. It's different. You have to do the work. Every customer is different. You can't, so I don't think that the biggest challenge is them really diagnosing their customer, really providing them that due diligence, doing the research. They miss it. They start to lose customers and they think that they're losing them because they're not providing the service. It's not that you're not good at what you do, you're just not taking the time, and it could be value or volume. It could be you're driving so much volume, you have so many clients, you don't have time. When you're doing a consult, you should at least spend anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6 hours on one client. But if you're seeing 20 and 30 clients a week or every 2 weeks, it's impossible. So the biggest gap is that they don't spend enough time preparing for that particular client. Even those of you, anybody speak or do training or anything like, that's huge. I teach speakers, I'm like, what are you doing? You didn't even customize it. I teach personal branding all of the time. But I don't teach it to the same audience every time. So I have to go back and I have to start thinking, who's the audience? What can I change? How do I integrate it? What do they need? But sometimes we do one program, we can it, and we think we force feed it to everybody. You have to do your work. Right.
Well, something I was just thinking about as you were answering that question is, as an entrepreneur and having more than one operating company, I think what happens at times is we get so involved in our business that we don't take the time to work on our business.
It's good.
So that's what you were saying, but that's something that I know that I have identified as being a problem. Well, and of course you then identify it because you begin to see the problems that are occurring, right? And then sometimes you get into a situation where you're forced, or you're like, this can't be going this way anymore. And it's like a break point, and that's normally then you're cleaning up messes that you don't want to be cleaning up, or if you actually understand that you need the 20% of on business time, your in business time is going to be much better.
And that's pretty much what I'm saying, is that you have to be able to be prepared, know your business, work on your business, carve out time as you're doing that to be able to be prepared. All right, so yes.
I want to share a mistake, if that's okay.
Definitely.
When I first started my company, I brought together some people that I felt like were really good influencers in my area. And I wanted to come up with a name for my company instead of my personal name. And I had this brainchild idea of going with Gen Insight with a Y. And they all said, no, don't do it. And guess what I did? I did it. And I branded it, I did the name, I did the website, I did everything. And every time someone would say, what's your email again? And so this whole Gen Y thing was like 5 years ahead of probably where it should have been. But I did not listen to my advisors. I brought them together. We spent 2 days together.
That's huge.
I was telling them all about what it is I do, and then I didn't listen to their opinions. I went, I'm still going to do it my way. And then it failed. So it was really helpful for me to learn that lesson the hard way. And it was very expensive.
And thank you for sharing that story, because that probably is something that many of us, sometimes we'll get so passionate about something that we're working on and we'll share it with other people and we're like, well, no, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it this way. We're so headstrong because we know what we're thinking is going to make it work, right? We're going to, this is the big idea and this is it. But most of the time when you're talking to influencers or you're talking to others, that's who your market is. So you have to listen to what the market is telling you. And they say, no, don't do that. You have to go back to the brand development. How do I further flesh out what it is and the messaging that I'm trying to do? How do I further develop my brand? And that's it. And think about, this brings us to challenges. This is huge. We brand only on the surface. I'm only going to change my logo, but your services remain the same. Your actual development of your product is the same. The different, when I tell you that the quality, is subpar, you have to brand beneath the surface. Brand without differentiation. What makes you different? What makes you unique? I think we're so focused on the competition that we forget that our uniqueness and the things that make us unique, we're so focused on trying to make our business look like someone else's, that you have a uniqueness about your business that can cause you to have a differentiation or a differentiated brand. And it should be so small. We try to look for, things that fall out of the sky. So small. So small. So make sure that when you brand, it's something different. Not just about your logo, but it's really something different. Even in the workplace, if you're branding and you're saying, you know what, this year I'm really going to get my stuff together, I'm going to be a project manager, I'm not going to sit in this role. Well, what makes you different? Did you go get a certification for it? Did you go do some job shadowing? What are you doing to help develop your brand so that it's different? Branding without a meaningful purpose. Well, some people are just creative and they just start branding. Have you ever, they just something different. I'm bored. They get tired of the same thing, so I'm going to do something different, and it doesn't work. When you think about branding without restructuring, sometimes you're going to have to restructure how you do your business. You're going to have to restructure your day-to-day functionality. If your career and you're working your job, and if you're talking about, I'm going to move into a managerial role or a leadership role, you're going to have to take more assignments and restructure what you're thinking. There's not coming in and getting out. There's taking assignments, going to meetings that are boring, that you really care nothing about, because you're trying to develop your brand. You're going to have to force yourself to turn on another side of your brain, learn something different, to be able to really enjoy, because you may not use it, but you need to know a little bit and enough about a lot. You have to diversify your brand. Okay? We think about branding in-house. This is what women do. We tell all our friends. It's just pretty cool, and we brand in-house, or we tell our spouse, or we tell, our kids, or whatever the case may be. We only tell people that are comfortable for us. Because our failure rate is lower. It's like low risk. So if I tell everybody close to me, it is a lower risk. So that's why. But you have to brand beyond your comfort zone. I think the biggest thing, and I'm derailing from here, is we talk about confidence. I always tell people preparation breeds confidence. The more prepared you are, the more confident you are. It doesn't matter what it is. You could be talking about something you have no clue. If you prepare and you study and you read and you're ready and you practice and you deliver, you are more confident. We look for perfection as women. We look for a finishing. I'll tell you the biggest story. So in writing the books, and when I was really writing, I was consulting with other authors and publishing companies, and they were telling me to do a pre-sale. Do pre-sale. So why do they want me to pre-sale books? I haven't even finished it. They're not even in print yet. Why would I pre-sale something that's not in print? What if it doesn't happen and people buy this book?
You have to write the book then.
You have to write the book, but what if I don't?
Yeah, finish this story.
So I'm telling you, I didn't do a pre-sale on any of those books. I didn't do a pre-sale for any. No, none of them. Now, I have Sparkle Publishing, I have my own self-publishing company, I've published other authors, and I pre-sale. We pre-sale, right? It's pre-sale. Because now I find that sometimes when we feel like in order to develop our brand, we have to finish something
We get it just right.
and get it perfect.
Yeah.
My rule is 80-20. If I got 80% of it, I'm probably going to finish 20. So again, you want to think about that. Branding without commitment. We brand, we don't commit to the brand, and we change. And people start saying, oh, you're inconsistent. You ever had that friend that always got a great idea, and you were like, okay, here they go again. That's branding without commitment. For the sake of time, we're gonna rock and roll. When you think about how do you develop your brand, if you're ready to rebrand, or ask yourself, what is your main passion? Where do you see yourself in 1 to 3, in 3 to 5 years? We don't ask ourselves this anymore because we don't have to think. Social media and technology will tell us what we are going to do. And we believe them. 1 to 3, 3 to 5 years. What is it? Dream big, develop. Take time. Do you remember when we used to have a camera and you would take it and the film, you could just kind of take it, you had to go in a dark room, dip it in water, and then let it dry, and then you start to see the image? We don't do that anymore. Now we take it with our cell phone, we upload it to our Facebook, it's instant. So we want our brand to be instant. But you have to take the time to develop it. When you think about that, what are your career goals? What are your personal goals? What are your business goals? What are your purpose goals? Purpose, intrinsic, really thinking hardly about your passion, your purpose, your faith, your belief. What is it that's in your brand that goes against your core beliefs? This is the #1 challenge for those who are entrepreneurs and those who are career women. Are you happy? And I'm not talking about what makes other people happy. I'm not talking about, you're being happy because you took the kids to, you made it to pick up the kids. I'm happy, I did it. No, are you happy? Are you happy? When I sit across the table from clients, this is the first thing I ask them. And they start giving me things about how they help other people and how everything is always about meeting someone else's need. And then I say, oh, that's great, I think you're awesome, that is so fabulous. Now, are you happy? What do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, I mean, it could be worse, but are you happy? So ask yourself, am I truly happy? Not external. Are you happy? So, rebrand. What is it? I told you. Here's the deal. Look at these here. I'm running out of time. Look here. What do you see? Ooh. They're consistent. They're rebranding. What is minor? If you take a look, if you take a look at Target here, they had Target and the bullseye, right? What's missing?
Target.
Because they branded themselves so well, they got all cocky. They was like, we ain't gotta put our names. People know the bullseye, we Target. When you think about Starbucks, what do they have here? Their name. Oh, they just have her here now. Because, what about here? You see, people know your name. And I told you at the beginning, they need to know your strengths. Because they all took their name off when they started to rebrand. So I'm sharing with you, it's no longer operating from your name, it's from your strengths. It's what you get when you go to Target. It's what you get when you go to Starbucks. The unique story about Starbucks, as I close, is the owner of Starbucks, the founder of Starbucks, people told him, yeah, they thought he was nutso. They told him that no one would ever pay $5 for a cup of coffee. And guess what? We don't. We pay $6, $7. So what I'm telling you, when you're talking about rebranding, it's thinking about your market. You ask the question about how do you know? Think about your market. Think about what's different. Think about how you want to grow and what changes do you need to make, and be consistent in doing that. Understanding your need, if you think about now, do you need to rebrand? I'm going really quickly. You need to compete at a higher level. Your brand no longer reflects who you are. You need to simplify and focus your message, or you're changing your image. This is huge. This will help you rebrand. Ask yourself, do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Yeah, You say, yeah, you will need to rebrand. So, once upon a time, we talked about the story. When people are telling your story, or when you're prepared, do you want to write an autobiography or a biography where people tell your story? So as we sum it up, it's the secret to it. People always want to know a secret, so I put a secret. Transparency, authenticity, and integrity. You got to be true to your brand. Many people see it as a reality-based perception, but it's deeper than that. You must truly emphasize your strengths. We talked about that. What are your strengths? And you take your brand and tie it to all aspects. How you dress, how you interact, how you engage, how do you communicate, how you write, how people see you. When you have alignment built upon your core values, don't forget that purpose piece, those are your core values, then you have a brand platform on which you can build and grow. That's the secret. So that's the magic. So when you walk out, y'all, we had magic in that session. This is the magic. This is the recipe. This is it. There's no rabbit I gotta pull out of the hat. This is it. This is it. Ladies, I hope we've had a great time. In every session that I do, I always like to have a little bit of learning and a little bit of laughter, and I think on today we had both. Yes. I think this is great. Thank you. And I hope you're able to get principles from here to actually put them into action. It's good to come and get a download, but I want you to be able to move away and have some actionable things that now you should be uncomfortable. You should walk out of here saying, ooh, I thought I had a brand, let me go find out. So, thank you all for attending my session. Again, I hope we connect in the future. Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram, on Facebook, Dr. Kimberly Ellison, as well as on Twitter. We do tweet a lot, tweet. And then also LinkedIn, Dr. Kimberly Ellison as well. We do have products at the back. We do have a line. A line is about rebranding. So if you want to order a line, we will take it here. The actual product didn't come in. All the other books are in. If you want those, that's there as well. Or you can go on my website and order them. So it's drkimberlyellison.com.